What's up, K12 Nation? This is Dr. Williams with the My K12 Career Show, and boy, do we have a treat for you. Today we have Dr. Loretta Sanders, who is originally from the United States, but she is currently living in the Middle East. She's lived in Abu Dhabi, she's currently living in Dubai, and she has been there for the past 12 years as a K12 educator. She's been a pastor, she's been a leader, she's been a speaker, and now she's a transformational coach all over the Middle Eastern region. So we're super grateful to have her on the show. Actually, I talked to her for well over an hour, but we condensed it down to 40 minutes. But you're going to get a lot of good value and golden nuggets. And if you ever thought about working abroad, traveling the world, living your dreams as a K12 educator, then you definitely want to listen and watch this show with Dr. Loretta Sanders, a K12 educator, leader, motivational speaker, and pastor who's currently living in the Middle East. I hope you enjoy it. Dr. Sanders, we are so excited that you came on the show to share your story with our viewers and our listeners. Would you please tell us what's going on in your life and in your K12 career right now?
Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Loretta, and I am currently in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. And in my K12 education right now, I am serving as a consultant, working with schools, training teachers, as well as working as a coach and a counselor right now. So that's where I am in my K12 education.
Okay. Well, let me ask you a question, because you're in another country, but you're from the United States, correct?
Correct.
All right. Where are you from?
North Carolina.
North Carolina. All right.
By way of Pittsburgh. I'm North Carolina by way of Pittsburgh. I tell people all the time, I'm a city slicker with country grammar. Don't mix it up.
City slicker with country grammar. Love it, love it, love it. So you're from the United States, and how long have you been over in the Middle East?
I've been in the Middle East 12 years.
Wow.
This year rounds out my 12th year. We came in 2011.
Okay.
When there was a big hiring, when the government schools hired a great deal of teachers from the U.S. to come over and teach in their public schools.
Sure. So was that in Abu Dhabi?
It was in Abu Dhabi initially. I think that year was approximately about 5,000 of us that got hired that year. And we came from everywhere from New York to LA. And there was a large pool of teachers also that came from Atlanta that year. And we all came into Abu Dhabi, and we were sent out to the different regions in order to teach in the public school system.
That's awesome. So I would have to believe, though, when you came over there, you probably weren't thinking this was going to be a 12 plus year run.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. When I left home, my initial contract was only for 3 years. Okay. So when I left coming here, I left coming with the thought that I was going to make some extra money. My kids were grown, they were off doing their thing. I was going to make some extra money and pay off my house. And then at the end of those 3 years, I was going to just go back to the house.
Okay.
But that didn't happen.
God had other plans, right?
Yes,
absolutely. Yeah. So how was it over there? I'm sure there's a lot of Black and brown people, but just from a race perspective, how was it over there?
From a Black, it has shifted. I just want to say it has shifted. So like I said, 10, 12 years ago, when we all came here, we had a large population of African Americans here. And that was the first time this country has seen that many of us actually even here, because they were previously used to dealing with the African population. And that in itself was a little, that because we're the same, but we're not the same.
I get it.
So that in itself created a shifting in the country as a whole overall. But over the years, the African-American population, I would say, has decreased here. And so the rest of the population is made up of, you have Indians, Filipinos, Pakistanis, plus the local population, of course. There's a few of us here. There's still quite a few of us here. and quite a few Africans as well. And I'm going to say just from the African diaspora, because there's there's everyone from Nigeria, Uganda, Ghanaians, it's Kenyans. There's just a mix of people from Africa. So this country really is a melting pot of different nationalities and different cultures. And that's actually the jewel of the UAE, is the different nationalities and cultures that are here.
Wow. Yeah, I bet that's really cool. I'm sure you have a lot of friends from all those different countries, right?
I do. And with each one over the years, it has definitely refined me and made me a better leader. Because it was everything, for us in leadership, there's the American way. It's just kind of we're straight on, straight up the middle. Let's get it done. That's kind of the American way. But when you deal with the Eastern cultures, and I do say with an S, cultures, they're more of a laid back. It's more of a social, you've been to Kuwait. So, it's like sit, have tea. We talk over tea, understanding even the different dynamics of the family. Moms, these moms are taking care of their entire family, their homes, their in-laws. They're hustling at night when they leave my school during the day. So just having compassion and empathy for what they are dealing with when they come into the school, and learning how to, which has brought me into coaching and counseling, actually, learning how to coach them through change.
Okay.
So it has actually made me a better leader working with such a diverse population of people.
Absolutely. Right. So how long did you work for ADDIC? I would think they were called ADDIC back then, before you actually got into what you're currently doing now, which is basically coaching leaders and teachers?
I actually only worked for ADDIC 1 year.
Okay.
It was actually only 1 year that I worked with ADDIC. I was out in the Western region.
Okay.
And that was literally, if you take a dart and you throw it at the country in the middle of the desert, I literally was probably about an hour away from Saudi Arabia. Ooh. So you imagine this city girl going way out into the middle of the desert with a new culture, new people, at a boys' school. It was just a bit overwhelming for me. So I stayed with ADDIC the 1 year. And then the next year I moved into a curriculum-based leadership position. And I stayed there with them for 5 years. Then as elementary curriculum director over 4 schools. Okay. And after that, I was like, I needed to get out of the elementary box. You know how you kind of get boxed in your career. And I didn't want to do that. At the time, I was a certified principal and I didn't want to stay there. So I actually came to Dubai to take on a principal's position as a high school principal.
Wow.
Yeah, and I came, and actually, I think that's where you and I met. I was actually serving as a high school principal here in Dubai.
Wow.
When you and I met here at the leadership conference.
Yeah.
And after that position and then serving and following that position, I moved up from there to academic head of schools. Because by trade, I'm a curriculum and instructional specialist. I am academic for sure. I'm not political, my hat goes off to those principals that sit in the office, my hat goes off to you. I'm academic. So I actually took a head of schools over academic. And after that was finished, I kind of realized that I needed to be able, I hit that place in that point where I was like, I want to do my own thing. Okay. The opportunity was here. I was already freelancing, training teachers and traveling throughout the GCC to do these different things. So I actually just went ahead on and just said, okay, I'm gonna give it a try. And that's when I moved into the consultancy role in 2019. And I started working at school consultancy in 2019.
That's awesome, man. So you've done a lot of great stuff. So like, how is, like you said, how the number of, leaders and teachers from the United States has kind of dwindled since 2011, 2012 when you came. So how would you say the environment is now? Is it still, if there's someone that's watching us right now, what advice would you give them about potentially coming over to the Middle East? Is it still a great opportunity, or do you feel like, just people like you that are already experienced and have been there, it's great for you guys because you guys have already learned how to navigate and live in that environment. But what would you say to someone that's never been there that might be considering coming to the Middle East? Is it still a great opportunity or not?
I think it's still a great opportunity if it depends on what you're looking for an opportunity. So if you say, is it still a great financial opportunity? Well, that depends on how much debt you have before you leave the US. Because if you're like a young person, you know what I mean? Like if you're a young person who is free and it's just kind of, I'm ready to live my best life, because you can travel to some of the world's finest destinations from here, have a wonderful time, and literally live your best life for the cost of a plane ticket going back to the US.
Wow.
So if that's what you're after and that's what you're looking for, then this is still a great, wonderful opportunity. If you are looking to grow and expand, I tell people as a curriculum specialist, what I've done here, I would not have been able to do had I stayed in America. Because literally almost, and I say this figuratively, somebody has to die for you to get into the curriculum office in a county. Versus here, where each school is almost like a school district in itself because it contains the K12. So that gave me the opportunity to write curriculums for multiple different schools. So I know, like, if I come to your school and your students may be struggling more in math, I can write a curriculum that will tailor to that while it continuing them in English, or vice versa in English, or if it needs both. So those kinds of skills that I've gained in curriculum writing, I don't think I would have been able to gain them, especially in the length of time that I've gained them if I was in the US. So if someone is looking to expand their career, expand their umbrella of capacity, what they can do, this is also a great opportunity for them. If you're a school leader, there's multiple school leader positions available. And it gives you, again, a chance to actually, you set the framework. Now, if you're one of those people that have to be left, right, left, right, left, right, I would consider, I would really think about, like, this may not be the best place for you.
Sure.
Because you have to be flexible.
Okay.
It requires flexibility all across the board, not just in the schools, but also outside in the community, in the culture. You have to realize that everybody don't do it the same way that we do it in the US. So I think there still is opportunity here. Is the money the same as it was 10, 12 years ago? No, it's not. But I would advise anyone who's coming as a teacher, ask your schools, do you provide housing, or do I have to get housing on my own? And if they provide housing, do they pay for that housing? Do they pay the bills in that housing, or do you have to pay the bills in that housing? You also want to ask your schools about transportation. Some schools provide transportation from your housing to your school. Do you provide that transportation? And if you do not provide that transportation, what are some of the procedures that you can help me do to get a rental car? How do I get my driver's license? As U.S. citizens, our driver's license just kind of transfer over. You can just simply go to their Department of Motor Vehicle and our driver's license transfer over. So if you feel comfortable enough to drive, now I'm telling you, it's not the same, but if you feel comfortable enough to drive here, you can get a driver's license and you can get a rental car for about $300. I would also recommend anyone who comes here, whether your school provides you housing or not, you still have to eat. So I would tell anyone who is coming here, try to come here with at least $5,000 to $10,000 in your pocket. Wow. Not necessarily that you're going to spend it, but at least to have it so that you can make sure that the rental car normally costs about 1,500 dirhams, which is close to about $350 per month. Okay. So if you want to need transportation, you're going to need money for that. If the school is not going to pay for your electricity and all of those things, you're going to need to provide a deposit for all of those things. And as I said, you're going to have to eat. You're going to want to feed yourself. And Dubai is full of great food and places to eat from multiple cultures. You're going to want to eat. So you're going to need money to have in your pocket so that you can eat as well as take care of those little personal things that you may want along the way. In my experience, I've seen people come here with little to no money in their pocket. And that first month, a month and a half is brutal because you're not going to get paid until the month is over. Even if you come in August, you won't get paid till the end of August. So all of those weeks, you're on your own to provide for yourself. So those are some of the few things that I can think of right off the bat to tell people, if you're interested in coming here, these are some of the ways that you can prepare yourself. But the most important part is to start with the interview. There's multiple schools in this region. If they're not offering you housing, if the package is not lining up with what you wanted or what you needed to be to support yourself financially, keep going. Eventually, you'll find the school that will.
That's really good advice, Dr. Loretta. And I also have to remember, in the Middle East, if you have your doctorate, then they actually call you by your first name. So it's not Dr. Sanders, it's Dr. Loretta. So I got to remember that. So Dr. Loretta, you've given some good advice. I guess my question is, because when I hear that, obviously I'm a seasoned administrator, been doing this a long time, but if I'm a new teacher, if I'm a teacher that only has 4 or 5 years of experience and I want to come there, it would seem to me like, man, $5,000 to $10,000 could be really prohibitive for me making that transition. Is that a deal breaker? Do you feel like they can get along on less, or is it all dependent upon the package?
I would say it depends on the package.
Okay.
And shop around for a package that suits you. Also, I would also say there's community here.
Okay.
We have the sororities, we have the fraternities.
Oh, okay.
We have all of them. We have all the sororities, fraternities, the Omegas, the Deltas, the Zetas, the AKAs. They've all chartered here, and OES and the Masons. Everybody has chartered here. So you do have community here. As in addition to that, and of course, I pastor Love and Grace. So we also have a church community here. So connect to the community that you have here, because they may be able to support and assist you. They may have some programs embedded in order to support new teachers or new principals or new people coming into the country. So I would say it's not a deal breaker. I would say use social media to find out where those pockets are.
No, that's fair. So like someone like myself, like I'm a school leader and I'm not looking to move. Let me be very, very clear. Just somebody that works for Seattle is watching this. I'm not looking to go anywhere. I'm good. But, if there's someone that is, that has a similar background that I have, they've been a teacher, they've been an administrator, they're making a pretty decent salary in the United States. Is it comparable to what you could make as a school leader over there or not?
Yes.
Okay.
But that again, that goes back to the school. That's first.
Okay.
And you also have to remember, even if they're giving you the same salary, dollar for dollar, you're still making more money because you don't have to pay taxes. Sure. You don't have to pay for your health insurance. You don't have to pay for your housing. So when you start looking at it that way, sure, it kind of, and the quality of life, that's a whole nother, the quality. I can leave my purse on the counter and go and come back, and my purse is still going to be there with everything in it. The crime rate is very low. I wouldn't be, we're not concerned about going outside, walking down the street at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning as a woman, so those kinds of things, the quality of life is, and as I said earlier, in the East, things are a little bit slower. So even when you're like, go, 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 they're like, no. Don't worry. Shui.
Yeah.
Shui. Wait a minute. Wait. Yeah. So the quality of life is also a component that you would look at. And also, I would also say the level of stress and anxiety that comes from school leadership in the US is not the same here.
Okay.
So that goes into that quality of life umbrella. Now, is there stress and anxiety? Yes. Is it the same? No. You were here. You were in Kuwait. It's not the same.
It's not the same. You're right. That's fair. No, that's really good. And that's good to know that, even, now today in 2022, that's still the case there, and that, crime is still low and the quality of life is still high. So yeah, that's really good to know. And again, like I said, I would, and I'm saying this as someone that, spent a couple of years over in the Middle East, I would recommend it. It was a great experience, not only for me, but for my family, my kids. If we would have stayed, my daughter was only 3 years old when we moved there. If we would have stayed another 2 years, she would have been fluent in Arabic. That's how quickly she was grabbing on to an entirely different language. And she already knows Spanish and English because my wife is from Colombia. So yeah, it's a really great experience. And I would just say that, I just put that out there for anybody that might be listening and watching you right now, Dr. Loretta. But yeah, that's really, really cool. So it seems like, and this is why I'm so excited to talk with you, because even though you're a K12 educator, you have branched out in so many other different areas, which I think is just phenomenal. So can you kind of talk about, separate and apart from what you have done as a curriculum director or what have you, what else are you into that has really just kind of flourished over there in the Middle East?
The first thing I think that I'm into is I became a pastor while I was here. I pastor the first and only African-American church here in country. Glory to God. Woo, child.
That's awesome.
That in itself, that was more of a great big branching out. Loving Grace is about 7 years old now. We celebrated our sixth anniversary. We celebrated our sixth anniversary this year, but we're 7 years old. And we literally started out as a group of teachers who had a desire to bring a touch of home to the desert.
Okay.
And that's kind of what Loving Grace is. There are churches here. If you prefer another faith or whatever, people always ask, are there churches there? Yes, there are plenty of churches here. But we wanted something that was like home.
Okay.
So I'm also pastoring Loving Grace, and we have services in Abu Dhabi as well as in Dubai.
Wow.
Glory to God. We survived COVID. We're still growing in that aspect. So we thank God for that. And in addition to that, during COVID, I kind of sat down and said, the education market with consultancy is getting very saturated. What else can I do? And when I look back at everything that I've done, I realized that whether if I was teaching children, if I was a curriculum specialist, changing curriculum, serving as a change agent, or if I was pastoring, the one thing that I had in common is transformation. So I focused myself, and I got my doctorate degree in counseling. I'm also NLP certified as an NLP coach.
Wow.
And I'm also certified as a coach. So I'm NLP and certified as a coach. And I realized that my stride was transformation, helping people transform and become better, whether it was in the schoolhouse, church house, whichever house, it was transformation. So recently I've branched out and I've become a transformational coach. Okay. And I'm working with people, helping people transform their lives. And again, it goes back to the K12 education. And I'm also a motivational speaker. People's like, you seem like, you speak so well. Look, I've been training teachers for 15 years. Now, if there is no group that's harder than to entertain is a group of teachers after they've worked all day. And now you want to sit down and give them a PD session. You better come with it fast. 100%. And so I tell people when I do my motivational speaking, I've had a lot of experience in doing this and working with teachers. So all of my training for what I do now kind of comes back to education and what I've done in the field of education. So those are the things that I'm working with now. And recently, I've been appointed for education and employment as part of the G100. And the G100 is a group of global women who are working to improve the life of women and men throughout the world facing their certain issues. So in my wing, for example, I'll be working with education and employment. I had some, just a quick story. I had some members of my church that needed a job. And I said, send me your resumes, because they said they have, and I looked at the resumes and I thought, okay, I understand. And so I said, go to the computer. This is where you can go find a computer, go to the computer. And the young man looked at me and said, I would need help on the computer. And that minute I realized that I assumed that they knew how to use computers.
Wow.
But then I remembered that this younger generation, they came up with cell phones. There was no need for computers. They can do everything on their cell phone versus you and I, we had to learn the computer. So with that, that's part of my G100 goal, is to help adults get those basic skills of how to use the computer. Because we, as I said, this is a diverse community. And even if we think about the US, some of the places that are not in the inner city, there's children who have never seen or have never worked on a computer. And if they have, it's only because they have them in the school.
Sure. That's fair.
So we are expanding in that area as well. That's a recent expansion that we will be working on here in the coming months. So yes, I have certainly expanded that K12 thing all the way out as far as I can get it thus far.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So do you ever see yourself like getting back into the K12 school setting and maybe being a superintendent or head of school or something like that, or no?
No, I am very much academic. I enjoy seeing that yes moment when teachers get it, or
Sure.
or when the kid get it. I love that moment. That's the moment that I live for. And to be locked in the office dealing with adults all day and that political, that's not where I would like to be. I like to be that encourager that says, you can do it, baby. Come on, you can make this thing happen. So as far as going in that side of the house, I don't see myself, but I never will say what I won't do, but that's not where I see myself currently. And as far as I'm still in the consultancy. Matter of fact, when school starts back in August, I'll be going in, doing some teacher training. I'll continue, because that's my heart. That's my love. You know, so when school starts back, I'll continue to do teacher training. I'll continue to work with teachers in that area so that I could, again, help see that I got it. You know, I got it, Miss Loretta. I got it. I can do this. So I'll still continue in that aspect of the K12 education.
That's cool. So again, like I said, I know there are people all over the world that are watching you right now. Like, what advice, and I'll separate them. So let's talk specifically about teachers that might want to come over there. And when I say teachers, I'm not just talking about teachers in the United States. I'm sure they have a lot of British curriculum schools over there, maybe even some Canadian curriculum schools over there. So if there's a teacher that's watching, whether they're in the US, Britain, Canada, South Africa, what have you, like, what advice specifically would they give you, or would you give them? I apologize. Would you give them in terms of, okay, come over to the Middle East, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, or don't come over to the Middle East? It's not a good opportunity. What would you say to them?
I would say, yes, come. You know, nothing fails but a try. Come.
Okay.
Give it an opportunity. You might actually find that you enjoy it and you like being here. But before you come, get all your documents authenticated.
Okay.
Get that done before you come. Don't come over and send them back. That's a hassle and a headache that you really don't want. So get all your documents authenticated. The hiring process, whether it's British, Canadian, Indian, no matter the school, is pretty much the same.
Sure.
So the same thing I said before about interviewing with multiple schools and asking those key questions, all of that apply for all of the schools here. But I certainly would tell anyone who is coming to just come on, give it a try. You may actually find that it's enjoyable and you like the lifestyle that you're able to live while you're here. But make sure those documents are authenticated. Your degree equivalencies will have to take place as well. And if you have any teaching certifications or certificates, bring those with you. If you are considered a non-native speaker, you must have an IELTS. You must have to teach English. Don't hold me to this number. I believe it's a 7.5 for English and a 6 for science and math. Don't hold me to that number. I could be off. I could be wrong. But I know it's pretty much, I believe that's where it is. If you are considered a non-native speaker, you must have IELTS to teach in any English curriculum schools.
Right.
You must
and
have
that's the equivalent of like the TOEFL in the United States?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. And so I guess the same advice would be for administrators as well?
Yeah, for administrators, the same. For administrators, I would say do your homework, do due diligence. I wrote an article for Teach Middle East a few years back where I discussed this, and it's about that time of year where I need to share it again. Mm-hmm. Make sure you ask those key questions. Who's in charge? Who's supervising you? Because you may find if you're going to a American curriculum, it may be someone from British, or it may not. Or if you're going to a British school, it may be someone that's Indian. So you need to find out who's over you, because they may or may not have any education experience at all. You also want to ask those key. And I'm serious. And I'll share the article with you, and you can attach it to this. Okay. And another thing is you also want to consider who's in control of your budget. Who are you going to get money from? Because we know as educators, we need money. And sometimes these schools you got to keep in mind that these schools are businesses. They're not public schools. They're for profit. So you need to know who holds the key to your purse, because that is going to decide what you can and cannot do, how many programs, your advancement. You can come with big ideas and you want to do great things, and you don't have the pocketbook streams, then all your visions and dreams are gone down, and you're disappointed because you can't get accomplished what you would like to get accomplished. And I would also tell the school leaders as well to enrollment, who's in charge of saying yes and no to students. Oh, okay. Because your students do have to the British curriculum has their test, and the American curriculum has the MAPS test. Now, all of these impact your school rating and school inspection. So it's important to know if whether or not, because at the end of the day, your name goes on that inspection report. And that could be you need to know who has control over what student can and cannot come into that school. Because if you take your numbers are the more lower students that you will take, the more likely your scores are going to be lower. So you have to ask those key questions as an administrator before you take the job. Don't get excited and be like, I got a job. Yay! And you take the job and you find yourself miserable because you have no control over anything that is happening in your building.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's great advice. Okay. So I would have to believe there's a specific hiring season, and I'm sure it's over now. We're getting ready to go into the 2022-2023 school year. So if somebody's watching you right now, Dr. Sanders, Dr. Loretta, and they're interested in maybe not this year because they're already set for this year, but for next year, like when is that hiring season or hiring timeline over in the Middle East?
Actually, it's continuous.
Okay.
Like it really legit. It's continuous. But as a teacher, you just have to ask yourself, do you want to take on a class in January? But the hiring season is continuous. I never forgot what it was like to be in the classroom. Yeah. The teaching season is continuous. But if you want to make up your mind and you say you want to come, January is when people normally have to resign and schools start knowing how many teachers they're going to need for the next academic year. And I would say January is probably the key time to start getting your resumes in, to start making contact with schools or recruiting companies to prepare to make the transition over. January is actually the ideal hiring season, somewhere between January and then May, but that depends on when Ramadan is too, because with Ramadan, things kind of slow down. So you don't want to submit anything during that season because we work a half a day during the holy month. So if you submit anything during that time, it's going to slow you up. So you want to try to get it in before Ramadan, and then it's likely then you'll see the jobs offers coming after that.
Sure. So you mentioned recruiting companies. Are there recruiting companies, specific recruiting companies that you recommend?
There are many out there, and I won't call any of them by name because I'm not, but there are certain, only thing you have, if you just Google teach in the UAE, there are a number of teacher recruiting agencies that will show up. And you can also, one of the things that I would recommend if you is to join some of the Facebook groups. Okay. There are Facebook groups, teachers in UAE, teachers, and because you may be able to skip the recruiting process, because a lot of principals post in those groups, hey, I need teachers, I need blah, blah, blah number of teachers. And then you can still with their email address, and you can send it directly to the principal, and that will cut out the middleman altogether. So, but there are a number of teacher recruitment groups that are here in the that provide for teachers, not only just in the UAE, but they also do the GCC.
Okay, that's great. So when you say GCC, for people that aren't familiar with the Middle East, what countries are you talking about?
Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Oman.
Okay, great. That's fair. That's good. So you said you're a consultant, and I'm just putting this out there. Like, if people are interested in working in one of those GCC countries, can they contact you? Is that something that you do, or? Yeah.
Yes, I do. People do. I get resumes often, and I do have a network of principals that I do work with and that I can contact and reach out to. So if someone wants to send me their resume directly, they absolutely can. And I will, according to what they put on their resume, I will try to send it to the best possible fit for them. Okay. Because certain schools hire different ways. So yeah. I do, and I will accept resumes, and I will make sure that they get into the hands of the principals once I receive them.
Right. And so how much do you charge? I mean, is there some sort of range of how much you charge someone that might need your assistance and coming over to the Middle East?
No, not at the moment. I'm actually, that's one of them things that I'm working on. I'm all heart, baby. If you need a job, I'll help you. Come on, I'll help you find one. So at the moment, there is no charge. Okay. I'm just doing it out of kindness of my heart to help those who are looking for employment and they want a job. I'll be glad to help you. In the future, it may be, but for right now, so if you want to, you better send it now. There is no charge. I'll just kind of help you get a job.
I'll be willing to give you a testimonial when you do start charging, right?
Yes.
There you go. I love it. So yeah, we'll definitely put your contact information in the show notes. But yeah, this has been great. This has been great advice. And as someone that has lived over in the Middle East, I can tell you it's spot on. So really appreciate you coming on and just kind of sharing, what all you have going on over in the Middle East. And yeah, I think it sounds like it's still a great opportunity, maybe not the same as it might have been 10, 12 years ago. But at the same time, it still seems like whether you're a teacher, administrator, counselor, what have you, you still have an opportunity to come over and experience another culture and experience, what it's like to work in another country as a K12 educator. So we really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. I appreciate you having me. And I'm glad you said counselor, because they have implemented a program for both high school and elementary counselors. So if there's someone who's watching who's a counselor, schools here now must have a guidance counselor, just like we have in our countries back home. So if you're a counselor, there are certainly positions, especially if you know what you're doing, because this is a new position. There's positions here available as well for counselors. I'm thank you for mentioning that. Awesome. And I thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah. And, before we leave, I just want to take the time and honor you for all the work that you've done in communities, not only in the United States, but in the Middle East. You are truly an international educator. And we definitely want to acknowledge and celebrate all that you do and all you have done as a K12 educator and now as a pastor. You're doing some amazing things. And I can tell there's greatness within you, Dr. Loretta. And God's not through with you yet. So, keep doing your thing.
Hey, man, thank you so very much. And I thank you for your kind words. And I thank you so much for the opportunity to come and sit with and speak with you, as well as to share with the K12 educators. And if there's any way that I can help, send me an email and I'll do my best to help you make the transition into the UAE.
Awesome. But before you leave, I want to ask you to please give our viewers and our listeners some parting words of wisdom. Tell us how we can connect with you, and then we'll say goodbye.
My parting words of wisdom, and I've been sharing this ever since 2020, in the middle of COVID. It is time for you to leap. It is time for you to take the opportunity to move throughout. The world is in a different state that it has never been in before. There are no borders. There are no no's. Whatever avenues, whatever you create, you can move towards it and you can do it. So now is like no other time. Take the leap. Get out of your comfort zone. Take the chance. Make the choice. Do not sit any longer outside the gate called beautiful. It's time for you to leave.
I love it.
In order to get in contact with me, you can email me at Dr. Loretta. It's Dr. as you spell the word Dr. Loretta s@gmail.com.
Okay.
My website is yourvisioninmotion.com. You can also find me on Instagram, Dr. Loretta, but you spell out the word Dr._Loretta. And these are just some of the places and the ways that you can get in touch with me and that you can find me. Awesome. So you have my Gmail, my website, and even on my website, if you go to yourvisioninmotion.com, on my website, there's a link there that you can click to contact me, and I'll get your emails directly from there as well.
That's awesome. Well, thank you again so much, Dr. Loretta. And I'm just going to reiterate what you just said to all of our viewers and listeners. Take the leap. You heard it from Dr. Loretta, and we'll definitely put your contact information in the show notes. And this is great. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. We wish you all the best in the year
Thank you for having me.
Years to come. And thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so very much.
All right. Take care. All the best.
All the best. Bye-bye.